Hey there, registered dietitian Taylor Schomaker here to bring you another meal prep recipe. Oftentimes we hear people say, oh my gosh, I just don't like vegetables. I don't want to eat them. And that's okay, we always work to meet you where you are. So recipes like this one today might be useful for you because you might not particularly like vegetables, but in this way, you might not even notice that they're there. So stay tuned and see how to make this kale rice blend. All right, so step one is choose your grain. For today's recipe, I chose brown whole grain rice that I had on hand. If you are not used to the consistency of whole grain rice, or maybe you don't like it, you can choose any rice that you would prefer. You could cook basmati, you could cook white rice, whatever you're used to for this recipe or whatever you have on hand, feel free to use. And use the methods that you normally would to cook that rice. That's all we're gonna do for the first step is cook the rice. So I'm gonna do 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water. I'm gonna bring that to a boil in my pot, and then I'm gonna reduce the heat and simmer for about a half hour, 45 minutes, or until all the liquid is absorbed. All right, so now we are going to take our veggie that I said we're gonna hide in this recipe, and we're gonna use kale. So I have 2 pretty big leaves here, and what I'm gonna do is wash these in the sink really good since they're out of the garden. This is a cruciferous vegetable, so there's a lot of bends and nooks and crannies, so you'll wanna make sure you wash it really good. And once I've done it, I'm gonna take this. Some of them have longer stems, but I'm gonna take the biggest part of the stem off so I just have the leafy part left. And then I'm gonna dice it up, and I'm actually gonna put it in a food processor. I have it right here. And I'm just gonna dice that up so that it's really, really small. And I'll show you what that looks like. And this is what we're gonna use in our rice. You can see it's a very small, fine consistency, a good way to mix kale in. You can enjoy this in this recipe, and if you like this idea, this is actually something that you can do as a meal prep option, and you can keep a frozen bag of this in your freezer so that you can pull out for recipes as you need it. All right, so now we are gonna put it all together and we will have our dish ready. For this, I'm gonna have a little bit of lunch for today, but then I'm also gonna keep the rest as a meal prep option so that whatever protein I have left over from the night before, I can pair with it for easy lunches so that my veggie and my fiber are already taken care of. So what I'm gonna do is to my pan, I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And I'm gonna let that heat up a little bit. And then to this, I'm actually going to add my seasonings and my kale and brown them up a little bit before I add my cooked rice. So I'm gonna put my kale in here. And then I'm gonna add half a teaspoon of 3 seasonings. 2 seasonings, and then we're gonna season with pepper to taste. So onion powder is the first one. And you could easily cut up fresh onions if you wanted to for this recipe. Garlic powder is the next, same deal. You could use fresh garlic in this if you wanted to. And then I'm just gonna season with some pepper. If you wanted to use salt, this is where you could put a pinch of that in here as well. But both of those are to taste. So then we're gonna stir this up a little bit. Smell it cooking here. It smells really good and it looks really green and fresh. All right. And you'll smell it. All right, and then we're gonna mix all that together, and that will be our dish. So this particular dish, you can top, or I'm going to top, with some Parmesan cheese and have a really yummy side dish with eggs, chicken, whatever your protein might be. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know what pairings you make with this recipe. Have a good day, everyone.